She's a doctor.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dovec, and she's a dietitian.
Hey, I'm Hannah Schuyler, and together we are the Weight Loss Collab.
Oh, we did it. We did it. Well, we have a very fun series that we are starting today, and it is on the stages of weight loss. This is a journey.
Yes.
And there are quite a few stages. And today, our first guest on this series is Robert. And he is now 5 years post-sleep. So we're going to be talking a little bit about his initial weight loss period, the transition to maintenance, how he stays motivated, if he's had any slips or bumps in the road along the way. Spoiler, I'm sure he has. And just a lot about who you are, your physique, and just really your journey.
Yeah. And I think it's so cool to see it at this stage, because obviously with a lot of our patients, we're still so new and everything. And you obviously have patients that are 10, 12 years out, and like, we don't have them yet. So it's really exciting I'm like excited to get to talk to them. It's like 5 years out, because I hardly ever get to do that. So
yes. So let's rewind back to, I don't know how long ago, maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago. Like, when did you tell us a little bit about your just growing up, when you started to have some issues with your weight, and just how you decided to go into weight loss surgery?
Yeah. So kind of my journey, I guess, or history. So I was always like the big kid who grew up big, always the biggest one in the class. And, part of my stature, so I'm 6'5", so I always kind of stood out.
Mm-hmm.
But I was always, the big kid. Right. And so that kind of progressed into early adulthood, and then kind of like, early 20s, then it kind of just went out of control, honestly. And so, part of it is like just life aspects of it, and just kind of, responsibilities and work, and not being as active as you are when you're younger. But it progressed through my early adult life, and I got to kind of my highest of about 440 pounds. And, it was one of those things where sleep apnea and, early stage, or you're pre-diabetic, fatty liver disease, but just, the general, like, you feel horrible. You're just, it's hard to move. It's just, your energy levels are so low. And in my career, I travel a lot, right? So I fly a lot, and having to get on those planes and ask for the seatbelt extenders every single time, not being able to sit into a middle seat. And when you're like on the plane, you're like all squished over to one side because you don't want to like, push the person next to you out of the way. Mentally, it was just really kind of draining. And I remember I was at this work conference one day, and I was just chatting with the guy and just general conversation. And out of nowhere, he's like, I've lost X amount of weight. I'm like, oh, cool. How'd you do that? He's like, I did the old fashioned way. Like, okay, well, what does that mean? He's like, gastric bypass.
Oh.
And so I'm like, okay. And like, literally, we've probably spent the next 45 minutes to an hour just kind of chatting. And he was same kind of height, same kind of weight, preoperatively. And it was just kind of interesting to learn, kind of what his journey was like, and how much his, self-confidence had improved, and how much just his general, well-being in life had improved post-operatively. And I remember as soon as we got done talking, I go back up to the hotel room and literally stayed up like 2:00 in the morning researching like all these different things about, gastric bypass and all these different options and just weight loss surgery in general. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so I was living in Detroit, Michigan at the time, and kind of reached out to different programs and kind of got into the channel that way. And it was like a 6-month, preoperative process. So I meeting with the dietitians and everything. Again, this was years ago, so things have changed a bit, but it was kind of a journey there. And I went from the 440 to 386 was the morning of surgery, and then not long after surgery, COVID happened, and so that kind of changed things a bit. Honestly, I think for the good, because restaurants were closed.
Yeah,
really couldn't do a whole lot, but stayed home and work and work out. But I was able to really kind of lock the diet down and really maintain a very active lifestyle. And I got down to about 250-ish was kind of my low. And after, 5 years, I'm about 270 is kind of where I've maintained. But even before surgery, like I'd looked at, medications, and this was Saxenda, right? Like trying the injectables and, trying, the orals and things like that. And I could not get, below 380. Like it did not matter like what I did, my body just physically would not get below 380. So I would kind of live in that, stage and that range of 380 to 400. And it was like, I'm tired of all the yo-yoing, the back and forth and like I need to do something real, or I won't have this problem in 10 years or 20 years. I won't be here. Right. And so made that decision. And, I tell folks, when I talk about bariatric surgery, like it's not something I'm ashamed of. I'm very happy I made that decision. I would be like, if you told me that I needed to hop on the table right now and have a revision, be like, let's do it. Right. Right. Because it is one of those things where my life has improved so much for the better, right? So dramatically post-operatively that I can't really imagine life pre-operatively. And if I had to do it all over again, I would do it all over again in a second. It has been way worth everything that I went through to have that procedure done.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, what a story. And especially what's really remarkable about your story is that you lost 56 pounds in the pre-op period. So it's interesting for me to try to put myself into your position that this random stranger, it sounds like, or something, maybe I didn't know well, had this soundbite, this chance interaction, this, person just telling you this random thing made you like, that was it. That was like your turning point. That was when the switch was flipped, that you just felt like, I have to do this. So, and I mean, you obviously went from, wow, I didn't really think about that, to I'm going to do this. Not only that, I'm so all in, I'm so committed. I lost this kind of weight beforehand. Tell me more about that whole process.
Yeah. And I think it was kind of, relatively shortly after some of the medication, like the orals and the injectables, right? And not really having a lot of success there. Yes, there was some success, but it was that plateau, and it was just not, get past it. I think part of it was just hearing someone else's story, right? And I will be the first to admit, like, I'm 100% a chicken when it comes to surgery and the thought of stuff like that. Even though I work in this space and I've worked in healthcare for 20 some odd years, I don't want to be on the table for that. But just kind of hearing that, someone else had went through it, and that they had found success, and they had found, that kind of improved quality of life and everything, and how it was sustainable. Right? Like, you go on the medications, and once you go off medications and what your body kind of adapts to them, and you catch back up, right? That it seemed more controllable, right? It seemed like I could have more of an active role in my overall success and long-term success by having this procedure than kind of being dependent on using medications for the rest of my life type thing. It was almost like this forced compliance to what I know I should have been doing all along, but not doing.
I get that. And I do think there is an aspect of that for people, that it's like forced compliance. But there is something about surgery that I always tell patients, I'm like, I know you've tried everything. Yeah. And I know you're like, why is this going to, like, I'm already doing the things that you're recommending, but they're not working. And I'm like, you don't have this very powerful tool in place to make those changes happen. Because like you're saying, you've already tried diet, you've tried exercise, you've tried medications, you've done all these things, and they just all together don't work. And then, you put the habits. No, some of it, of course, is more restrictive with after a surgery. Some of it you can be even more to an extreme than you were. I always tell, I'm like, it's your will against the world right now when you haven't had anything. And it's like, but there is something that's not just, oh, I can do that, I can be better. It's like, no, you actually needed this tool as well to make it work.
I think so. It's definitely like this kind of double whammy of just bad food choices, right? But then also, the amount that I was able to eat pre-operatively, yes, right, and that would come from years of conditioning and everything like that, right? Like, it got that way for a reason. And so I'm a numbers person, analytical, and I'm a quantifier. So to quantify it, like, no lie, I could have like 2 Chipotle burritos, and that would be dinner. And when you go back and you look at like how many carbs and calories or everything like that are in something like that, that's food for one person, obviously, to eat in one sitting. And now 5 years post-operatively, like, maybe half-ish, I'm good. Like, to go from 2 whole to 1 half,
right,
is a big change in just obviously the amount of volume that I could hold. It was like, yes, I know I should eat 2 Chipotle burritos per dinner. That's a little overkill to being able to eat just half of one. That's about right?
Yeah.
The procedure is what allowed that to happen, right? And it's like, it's not like my life has gotten any worse. It's the complete opposite, right? Yeah, so much better. And the surgery was the tool to be able to help make portion control reality.
The reality. Exactly. That's what I mean. It's like, you could try to portion control before, but you're gonna feel hungry all the time. Like, it just isn't, it's just feasible.
I've got a good friend who said that, because I've been like a few years between times we saw each other, and no one saw me. It's like, oh, what happened? I was eating a big train. And he said it very well. He said that he either is empty or he's overstopped. Right. There's no like in between. There's not like that mental trigger or the physical trigger that says, okay, I'm satisfied. And so, overeating is a real challenge.
Yep.
Right. And so it was a real challenge for him and myself. And surgery helped kind of level the playing field.
Yeah, it's leptin. That's what was low.
Yes, the hormone changes. So, yes, you decided to have this sleeve, and I'm curious why you picked the sleeve.
Yeah. So, it's 5 years ago. So I was trying to go back and remember, why the sleeve over bypass. And I had good care team, everything like that when I had the procedure performed. And I think I know the numbers were better with the bypass, right? So I would have had more weight loss on average than with the sleeve. I think for me, it was kind of the conversation about less restrictive post-operatively. Again, 5 years later, don't really remember. I think that this space has obviously grown, and as data has grown, there's more that is towards bypass than sleeve. So I had to do it over again. I would have had a bypass over a sleeve, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. But yeah, I think that's kind of the general conversation.
So we were talking like loosely beforehand about who does well with the bypass, who does well with the sleeve. I actually think a sleeve in someone like you, what you just described, is actually very good because and this is typically more of a more male way of eating versus a female. So like just patterns of how people eat. So women, we talk about this a lot. Women, we will eat a bite here and there. We're pickers, we're nibblers, we're snackers. We are just constantly grazing. It sounds like you'll go to Chipotle, you'll order 2 burritos and you'll house them down. And even then you're like, I'm eating a bite. I'm not really satisfied, but that's good with the sleeve because it's much more restrictive. Like you just physically cannot do that now. Like you said, you can eat like a quarter of what you were eating at that time. And so I think men do better with the sleeve. And then also, like Hannah just said about the hunger hormones. And I'm curious subjectively if you felt this way. So there's ghrelin. And ghrelin is the hunger hormone that tells you kind of to eat and that sort of thing. And when you remove the portion of the stomach that makes that's like the fundus, the largest portion of the stomach at the top, when that's gone, you will have I gotta remind myself to eat. And you did say that the other day, 5 years out. So how is that subjectively after this lifetime of never being satisfied, which is leptin, to going into this state?
So it was very funny post-operatively once I would return back to normal diet. I had set reminders on my phone to eat, right? And sometimes I would forget. I would go all day and be like, it's 8 o'clock at night and I didn't eat all day. Even 5 years later, if I get distracted during the day, if I'm busy, at work or life or whatever the case may be, I will literally forget to have lunch or whatever. And might have something at, 7 a.m. and then I may not eat again until 8 p.m. I don't notice it, but it's not like, it's just like just gnawing on the back of my mind. Oh, I got to eat. I'm hungry. Like this. It's just like, oh, wait, yeah, I probably should eat something.
Probably should eat something. Yeah. Good. What was their guideline for you for how much protein you should eat in a day?
Yeah.
Oh, your height. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was, I want to say maybe like 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight or 1 to 2, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because we've tried to think about this before, but like I always ask people how tall they are and then I give the protein recommendations off of that because I'm looking at like what would your lean body mass be, and like because that's what we want to feed. If we fed you at 386 pounds, we're going to get a much higher number and it might be excess and blah blah blah. So that's why I'm like 6'6". Okay, then this is just my mental math of quick and dirty, but I'm like he's like got to be at least 120 to 140 grams of protein a day. So like I had to guess. Yeah,
a ton of protein shakes.
Yeah,
right? And so it's like literally when Amazon pulls up and drops them off, it's pretty insane.
Yeah. Wow, you're still doing this?
Still, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, if we're back at my house, I have them all stacked up on my refrigerator. And so I will probably drink, let's say, like 3 or 4 compound drinks a day on average. And just to be able to get the protein numbers.
Yeah.
Because even when I sit down, coming to your point earlier, when I sit down and eat, like they're not big meals, not big portions.
Right.
The protein drinks definitely help. I will literally bring 3 a day, like when I go into the office, and that's what I will keep.
Yeah. Anytime I talk to it's always men usually that are, 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". I'm like, you're going to have to at least do 1 shake a day. Like it's just not realistic. And most people I don't tell, I'm like, it's optional. It's something you can use if you need to, like if you want to have it for breakfast or whatever, like I let people make that decision. But with anybody that's over a certain time, I'm like, so sorry, you're going to need a protein shake every single day. And that's just how it is.
Yeah. There's no way I could eat enough, actual meat.
You would also just be like eating constantly. Really.
Well, with that, I'm curious, like what is a typical day like 5 years post sleeve?
Yeah. So, if I went home, that's the best case scenario because I'm not traveling. But if I'm at home, usually it'll be a protein shake first thing in the morning, and then I'll work out.
Okay.
And I might get something like, little pack of Belvitas or whatever, quick carbs in the morning type thing. And then that's what's that, like 7. And then 10, it's going to be like 3 eggs type thing. And then I'll do like another protein shake. And then maybe around like 1 or 2 is going to be lunch. And so I will typically try to do the meal prep. Last week it was chicken shawarma with cucumbers and tomatoes, right? And that was my thing, right? And it was 8 ounces of chicken and just like, quarter cup of veggies. Sometimes I'll have put rice in there. Usually I try not to eat a whole lot of rice or starches, but sometimes it just depends on how I feel. And then maybe like around 6 is dinner, and then another protein shake late in the evening. And maybe like another shake kind of sprinkled in there.
Somewhere there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what do you do to work out?
So I lift usually 5 days a week.
Wow.
And then usually walk 45 minutes, 3 days a week ish. So it depends too. Like if I'm in the office, then I'll try to do more in the morning. If I'm like, out visiting facilities like I do for work, then usually I've been kind of getting your steps in that way.
Wow. Awesome. That is. No, it's so great that so were you pretty active before surgery or not, or just not?
Well, so when I was in high school, and so younger adult, I played like pro football, or my ACL. And that was kind of like, end of it. Right. Like when I was kind of trying to lose weight, like in that, let's say 400 to 440-ish range, higher end. I mean, the reality is you go out and you try to go like for like a 5-10 minute walk, and it's just, your knees hurt, ankles hurt. It's the reality of carrying all that excess body weight. Mm-hmm. And I think since post-op, I've done maybe, 10 5Ks. I've got another one coming up here pretty soon.
Wow.
Something to go do.
Just go do.
Yeah. Have fun. And I'm not a runner, right? So, but it's just something to go do. And it's something that I can now do.
That's awesome.
Beforehand, like I couldn't have. Like physically just not been able to do it.
Yeah. And that's the thing I talk to patients about too, of like that pre-op, they're like, oh, I'm not exercising. Like, and they're like, that's the thing that's holding me back. And I'm like, it's really not. Like, it's not the thing. Like, exercise is obviously important. It's great. We want you to do it. But like, if you physically can't in your body do it, or it's very painful, or it could cause an injury, or it could cause don't stress about it, because the diet is going to be the thing that drives the weight loss, even post-op, and exercise will come.
Yeah.
Like, you'll get there.
You can't out-exercise bad habits.
Right, exactly.
Right, you just can't. And so, yeah, yes, it is so much easier once you lose the weight, once you begin, like for me, it was maybe like a month post-operative.
Right.
Kind of get restrictions for clearance. So, and then it was just like, oh, well, this is so much easier, right?
Yeah.
I can actually
It's kind of the inflammation that I think goes away with surgery. Like, we have people that say, I wake up from surgery and my hands aren't feeling swollen, or my feet don't hurt. And it's like, yeah, there's other things going on. And so I'm like, still, if you're doing it great and you feel comfortable and you're doing it great, but like, don't stress about it.
Right. It'll come.
Yeah.
But like you said, like it's a journey, right? It's a process. And so you don't have to be like, day one post-operatively out running a marathon. Like, no.
Yes.
Let your body heal, but also get used to your new way of life.
So it is a journey. And we talked a little bit in the beginning about, sounds like for most of your adult life up until this moment, you're constantly trying to lose weight, or thinking about your weight, or thinking about how it kind of bothered you, or kind of almost all that. And then all of a sudden that changes, and you go into that first year or so of the honeymoon phase.
Yes.
How was those early days?
Oh man, the honeymoon phase is like, for anybody who's been a big person for most of their life, the honeymoon phase is the best year of your life, right? Because you could just like wake up and hop on the scale and you've lost 10 pounds only the night before, right? Like for me,
They work it, please.
yes. First of all, if you guys, it became more real. But like literally, I would lose, a couple pounds every day type thing, and then I had some days where it might be a little bit less, or a little bit more. But it's almost like you get this just fountain of youth type thing going on, like where you feel so much more energetic. Everything just feels better. Confidence begins to skyrocket. Like when I walk into a room, I don't feel like people are looking at me because of my size. I stand out anyway, just because from my height anyway, right? But I don't feel like people are like, oh, wow, like it's real, right? Mm-hmm. Whether, it's intentional or not, or whether, the intent is pure or not, you still get looked at when you're up, 440 pounds. You just do. And so, being able to just kind of live more of like a normal life, but also just be more energetic and just happier, and just like that honeymoon phase is unbelievably awesome. And then, there's obviously like, well, my clothes don't fit. So now I get to go like regular stores. Like I used to have to go to the large stores to get clothes. Like every aspect of your life just feels different once you kind of enter maybe like 30 days into that honeymoon phase.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to get down to that lowest 250 weight?
Oh, that might have been 12 to 15 months both up.
Yeah. That seems to be where the sweet spot is. It's like a year to 18 months is when you've kind of achieved your new set point. Your body's constantly like, is this it? Is he done? Or no, we're going to let him go to sleep and wake up 10 pounds later. Like, and then it's a stepwise. It's like you're kind of stuck 1 or 2 pounds. And then you kind of like, and so on. It's not a linear. People always think that, like, I didn't lose anything yet. And it's like, but you lost 10 pounds last week. You've got to give yourself grace and all of that. And so you did it. You come to this amazing weight for your height. You're at this healthy BMI and you're maintaining it. Tell us about when you realize, like, okay, I think that this is where I'm kind of settling out. And now I'm kind of going into this more maintenance type of a picture.
Yep. So I totally nerded out and recorded my stats every single day for like 500 and some odd days. Put into Excel, and I have charts and graphs.
This does not surprise me in the slightest.
It's how we know each other here in a moment. So we kind of just dove right into your journey, but it's how the backstory.
But what you're saying, there's the steps, and so okay, is this it? Did I plateau? Oh, no, a little bit more. Oh, when I got like 250, it was like, okay, I'm starting to not look healthy, right? Like I just kind of look sick, and people are like, "Are you okay?" type questions. And so really, that's where more of a conscious effort in making sure I was getting enough protein and lifting more, and to be able to kind of put a little bit more weight back on. Gosh, quite thing. But yeah, it was kind of like, I don't know when this is going to stop or where this is going to go, but I'm just going to take it day by day and see where it leads.
Are you happy at your 270?
So honestly, right now, no. Right. Okay. So, with traveling and kind of this slipping some bad habits back into life that I haven't had for 5 years, I want to get back closer to the 250. But to me, it's more like the total comp. I'd rather be a strong 270 than only 250.
Okay. So, no, if I think that's good. Do you know the acronym NSV?
NSV. No.
Oh, okay. So NSV in the weight loss lingo means non-scale victory.
Okay.
So it's anything that has nothing to do with the number 270, 250, 440, whatever, that now your life is better because you had weight loss surgery or you've made these lifestyle changes. So you talked about, you travel a lot, and actually you're here right now because the universe, God, somebody out there, connected us, and it's been amazing. So what you do, you used to work for ASC management companies, and then you started your own business, and that was 2 years ago. So I would consider that, 2 years ago, you're kind of like at the prime of this journey too. Do you feel like that is an NSV, that is a non-scale victory, in that you decided to kind of take this leap because you had more confidence?
100%. Yeah. It's, everything, I don't know, like your motivation goes up, you just feel better, you feel more confident, you are less self-conscious, you spend less time looking internally and more time looking externally. Oh. Right. And so I think that's a good example. I used to hate public speaking, and I'm still not a big fan of it, honestly. And I will do these healthcare shows, national conferences and things like that. I think spoke like one time, a long time ago, and I just felt so self-conscious being on stage, right? Huh? And now I speak usually 2 to 3 times a year. Yeah. We're talking about doing it. Yes. The conference here in Florida pretty soon. But when I'm on stage, I don't feel like people are looking at me just kind of like judging, and I don't feel so self-conscious. I'm like, I'm here to present on the topics I'm here to present on, right? It's not about me. It's about what I'm here to do or here to speak on. And I would not have gotten on stage at 440 and, just been able to do that with the kind of confidence that you have to have when you kind of give that kind of presentation. Mm-hmm. Just because it was so much more internally, doubting myself and talking myself out of things like that. And then, yeah, totally. Everything from like, again, being able to go to Kohl's and buy something, right? Yeah. Just go to Kohl's. Only I could buy was like gloves and a scarf. That's the had to fit into Kohl's from somebody in my shirt. To like, now being able to go to like, mall, Kohl's and places like that. And I have to get seatbelt extenders, all that stuff I mentioned previously. Mm-hmm. But yeah, starting your own business, like being able to just kind of stick your neck out there and just, see where things can go. Yeah. Once you're able to kind of make such a dramatic change in your lifestyle, other things seem a lot more possible.
Mm-hmm. Oh. God, these sound bites. Yeah. I'm like, we got to cut this up and slice it of this because I love the way that you're phrasing it and how you're saying things that we kind of know when we say. Yeah. But I'm like, I'm watching you and I'm benefiting from you getting healthy, having the surgery, putting yourself out there, and now you start your own company. It boomerangs back around and it comes and it helps us out. You're here with your own company. It's just a creative, brilliant design of what you're doing and how you offer value to people like ourselves who are starting these surgery centers. And that analytical mind of yours is helping us tremendously with trying to get our inventory straight and understanding the business and the basics of accounting and things. But man, I love that. I really love that you, I would have never knew that you were not a confident individual.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Like, you could not have paid me enough to get on stage and have a kind of conversation. And no.
Despite the fact that you were probably an expert in whatever it was. Like, even 5 years ago, you were absolutely qualified and could have done that. So, like, I'm sure you couldn't personally do it.
Like, district weight is almost like, it's like a wall, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a wall around you that keeps you from being your true self.
Right.
Living up to what your potential may be.
And it's a wall that, I laid brick by brick, over the course of time. And then, once you kind of begin to break down that wall, you begin to break down those barriers, you see what is on the other side, right? And what is on the other side, it's going to be different for everybody. And that's just kind of how it worked out for me. But, post-operatively, once you begin to lose weight, your life really changes in so many different ways that it's practically unquantifiable. Just all the little things that happen day in, day out to the big things. And I think for me, the boost of confidence and not, self, doubt, negative self-talk, really that noise began to quiet once the weight loss started to happen.
Mm-hmm. I hope it's silence because your knowledge and and I wonder if during that time of awakening that you were kind of hunkered down and just like honing your craft almost. And then it was like, all right, world, I'm ready to like pay your house. And
like I'm sure you've seen this with your patients. It's almost like that Phoenix Rising type thing, like to see people when they go through this procedure and have this procedure done. Just, the confidence, some of the pictures on your website, right? Of patients, just people just look happier. They feel happier.
Yeah.
And, it's just like you kind of stop getting in your own way once you're able to kind of get out of your own head, right? And just silence those voices, right? You are your worst critic oftentimes. And so like myself was always telling myself that, no, this is not, ideal to be up on stage and having these conversations because people are judging. It's like, whether they're judging or not, you don't know, right? But now I have no problem getting up on stage and doing a presentation for an hour about whatever it is I need to talk about. I don't worry if anybody's considering anything about my physical appearance because I'm here talking about this.
Yeah, it's also silly when you think of it and say that, but I understand. Like,
oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not even just like it's not just in that moment that you're thinking that either of like I can't get up on stage. It's all of those moments before that have circled in your head and cycled and that driven you down into this like I can't do it. So like, yeah, it's not just stepping on the stage at that exact moment. Like, oh no, they're going to look at me. You've been thinking that over and over and over and over. But yeah, I mean, when I came in the other day and you guys had just gotten here and I walked in and I was like, oh, these must be the people. They just came in and I introduced myself. And immediately I was like, I would trust him with so many things right now. Because you were just like, yep. Like I asked a question. You're like, yep, got that. Yep, got that. Yep. Just like, oh, dear God.
Yeah, and then there was the physical piece of that too, because we're setting up the surgery center to essentially start operating and all the details, but there's also physical, moving around, moving boxes.
Oh, he just started punching boxes. It was the best thing ever. I was like, wait, we need like one of those box cutter things. And he's like, nope. It's like, all right, I love it.
Yes.
I hated this especially today. We got flowers delivered. I'm like, well, some spots for me.
We wrapped the tape on that one.
You did.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you were talking about, right? Like, I'm very thankful that we have this opportunity to spend some time working together and things like that. But when, obviously finding out about the surgery center that you're building, absolutely beautiful facility, but I know how much you're going to do to people in this area, your patients, that it's like, how can I not help pay this forward for like the next generation of bariatric patients, right? Like anything I do to help this facility be successful so that more people in this area can benefit in the procedure. It's like, oh yeah, no brainer. How can we help? What can we?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that. And I'm like, gosh, there's such great people in this world that are just helpful and all of that. So when you talk about bringing it around full circle in that regard, the stranger, this person helped you. Now, you're now on stage, and I'm sure people recognize you from the conferences. Like you said, you are tall and I'm tall, 6 foot as well. For a woman, it's always like, oh, there's that tall blonde. Like there she is, you know? So same thing, like, oh, there's Robert. Tall, but there's something different about you. Oh, you lost all this 200 pounds. Yeah. So do people notice?
Yeah, 100%. So, I would see, 6 months, especially in that, let's say a year time frame, where you would get some of the comments the first 6 months when things were kind of happening in that preoperative cycle, right? But then really, 6 months post-operative, I'd run into people that'd be like, wow, you look like a completely different person. Yeah. And even now, if I go like a couple years out seeing somebody, I get the same comment. Obviously, that's dropped off over 5 years, but I mean, it was almost like a weekly basis. You'd have had people say, like, wow, what happened? Like, what'd you do? Yeah. What's your secret type thing? And it's like, had bariatric surgery.
Yeah.
Right. Pretty straightforward.
And so do you feel like at this point, so people are noticing it may be somebody who is struggling with their weight, male or females in the audience. Do you feel like you ever have a conversation, or you ever just dropped a little kind of soundbite, if you will, to somebody like, oh, I had bariatric surgery? Is similar to how that happened to you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so if when having the lunch with friends I haven't seen in a while, what the case may be, it's like, that's, yeah, had this done. I do it again in a heartbeat. Like, this is the best decision I've made for my health and myself. So absolutely. I would say probably in that first couple of years, I would begin to get some questions about, maybe they're considering it, kind of on the fence, kind of asking, kind of like how I did the gentleman at the conference that kind of kickstarted this for me. And it's like, yeah, like once you have this procedure done and you see the benefits of it, you are the biggest fan of having it done.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. And so it's like, yeah, well, let's ask, what questions do you have? Yeah. How can I help? No, I don't remember anything. Very little pain, great results. What change a thing, right? Like you just kind of tell them how your experience was. Everybody's experience is different, but it's like, once you've had this done, you just want to spread the word so that everyone else is considering, like, don't sit on the fence, get off the fence and get into this. And, surround yourself with a great team, do what your team tells you to do, and then enjoy, your new self.
Oh, do you know anybody that you have influenced to get surgery?
I don't know of anyone specifically that I influenced, but yeah, there was conversations.
So that's
That like,
oh yeah, right. That it came in. Or yeah, you're an influencer. You in a realist sense.
You are. And then in that regard, like you said, like you just want to like scream it from the rooftops, like get bariatric surgery. Like you don't have to live like this. I know how you feel, like, and you just understand that you're living it, you're breathing it. I mean, that's tremendous, and then you want to pay it forward to other people. I mean, I don't know. I think that there's so much there that is really exceptional, and that we can't even pay for a billboard or an ad or anything that is as influential or as impactful as you coming even on here and like sharing your story and just saying this.
Yeah. I mean, so we were kind of talking a little bit earlier, and it was like, there's obviously what you can find online from, social media and YouTube and things like that, which are great. Not a whole lot of guys in this space or out talking to other guys, right? And
yeah,
which, kind of is what it is. Obviously, it's a numbers thing too. But I mean, absolutely. I think hearing from someone else that, yes, I did it, and I'm so glad that I did, was very helpful for me, right? It was instrumental in saying like, okay, let me actually do this. I mean, consider this real. And like I said, well, and during our 45-minute conversation that night, I was asking him like, all these questions about, how's your diet changed? How have things been for you? And it was just like, no, it's great. Easy. Fine. Right. Like if it was like, okay, I'm waiting for the catch.
Yeah.
And there was no catch.
There is no catch. No. There's no catch. Yeah. My friends, there's no catch.
Yeah.
People are so freaked out about the food. And I like to eat. I have to eat. I want to eat. And it's like, you will still eat.
Yeah.
Right. You just described,
And also like on that, exactly. Like just to say that to people listening, like, you won't have that drive like you did before, and you didn't mention it, but a lot of people say that food noise, and that's like the big word. It's like they're so worried about that. Like, I'm still going to want to eat 2 Chipotle burritos, but I can't. It's like, no, you just don't even want to anymore. Like, it's just a non-issue.
The food drive goes from kind of this like hyper state that's put you in this position in the first place to a more of a normal state.
Right.
Right. Like there's, I think at 5 years post-operatively, it's different than pre-op or, shortly thereafter procedure. Because there were things I couldn't eat like right after the procedure. I remember like I tried eating it was like tough brisket, and that just did not sit.
Mm.
That was an uncomfortable 30 minutes, but you learn what your limits are,
Yeah.
and then you kind of adjust. But I don't miss sitting down and eating like that. Those kind of like copious amounts of food. I can still eat stuff that I like. I just eat it in better portions, right? And so, I don't feel that like sickness from overeating that I would feel, preoperatively. Just because the portion size is normal. And so for anybody who's like afraid, like, oh, I'll never be able to, eat a cheeseburger again or whatever, it's like, no, you can. You may not be able to for the first, few months postoperatively as your stomach adjusts and as you heal. But, it's like, you don't have to worry about like, can't. And when I went through one of my classes early on, I remember, the instructor kind of getting up, but she was a dietitian as well, kind of talking about it. And she made a comment about, the food restrictions, and someone's like, well, I can't do that. And just like, at that point, they pulled the plug. I'm like, you had missed out on 5 years of a much better life because you're afraid that you wouldn't be able to eat the same amount of foods. Like, no, it's worth it. It's worth the trade-off.
Yeah. I have a question for you. As a dietitian, are you still taking your vitamins?
I take daily vitamins.
Okay.
And then I take probably like 5 or 6 other supplements, just depending on
Oh, wow.
So it depends. Like heart
Achiever.
disease runs in our family. And so I take things with that.
Yeah.
And it takes inflammation. But,
Okay. Good.
yes.
Just want to make sure.
Bariatric Advantage, auto reorder. Lemon flavor is the best.
Lemon flavor of the calcium.
Yes, calcium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to know. It's always surprising. That's what we always say. Get sample pack because you never know which one you would like.
Yeah.
I always get something. I thought like strawberry, or I think of strawberry is my favorite, not lemon.
Lemon. Yes, that, and the reason I ask is because a lot of people, especially I feel like with the sleeve, they have this conception that like the vitamins are for the first year and then they're done.
No.
And I'm like, no, it's either any procedure. It's a lifetime commitment to taking the multi and the calcium. Now, the other stuff is obviously personalized and all of that. But
I think, if anybody's is kind of concerned about that, it's like, okay, you made this investment in your health. You want to continue to pour into that investment.
Absolutely.
So you're going to go to the gym. You're going to meal prep. You're going to do all the things. You're going to drink your water, drink your protein shakes.
your vitamins. Yeah. And you know what? Also, you're probably off of medications or something. Like it's like you replace 1-to-1, like swap out a blood pressure vet for an vitamin. Like, and I would much rather personally be taking a multivitamin than a blood pressure medication or whatever.
I take an medication and stick salt and
Just supplements. Yeah.
so that's used, right?
Right.
So that postoperative.
Yeah. Right. Good. Good job.
No, that is great. You do need to do it. Sleeve and bypass and DS or whatever your procedure was.
Whatever it is.
You got to make sure that you do that. If you get your blood work done and check to make sure that everything is all good.
Once a year, go with for the annual schools, things like that. You're supposed to.
Fantastic.
So yeah, I mean, like the no longer pre-diabetic, fatty liver disease is not a thing. So no, I mean it's all the health markers have obviously improved dramatically. Blood pressure's down, oxygen pulse rate's down, like all the stuff that you care about for your basic health and wellness is improved.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I mean, can't beat it.
I'm obsessed. I love it.
So taking you kind of back to the workup for this and how you finally decided, all right, I'm ready. You went down that rabbit hole till 2 a.m. We actually get a lot of patients, especially in the weekends, like in the middle of the night, nothing they sign up.
When they text us.
When they text us, we'll get that first initial submission of your electronics form there. It's like, okay, Robert's interested. What's going on? And that is a vulnerable moment. And that is a big deal to be like, okay, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going from kind of contemplating to actually I kind of take an action on it. And when you go there, how do you decide on the program that you want? Or like, how did you decide to take that first step? Because it's so overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, it's so for me, I've worked in healthcare my whole career, right? So being able to walk in and see, okay, do you have your stuff together, program established, but who's going to be cutting on me, right? Who's going to be my care team? Who's going to be taking care of me and helping me along this journey? Who do I trust, right? And so I want to be able to walk in and just kind of like feel like, yes, I feel very confident in this staff that they're going to provide the best care that they can provide. And like I said, I looked at 3 different programs, and the one that I picked, I felt that, the best, that they had the best program, the best, materials and things like that. And I imagine, something is true with your patients. Like once you begin to make that contact and they're like, okay, but you kind of get that reassurance and that comfort that and as a patient, right, you want to know that your care team is in your corner, right? And then you call me whenever you have any questions. We're here for you, things like that. You're going to slip, you're going to fall. We will help you up. Right? So So that was a big selling point. Obviously, just making sure that, and just your reputation in the market and things like that.
That you make a spreadsheet about the 3 programs.
I think you might have.
Love your spreadsheets. I can't wait to make one about us, but then I don't know if you realize, a lot of the insurance companies have actually gotten, I would consider, more progressive in that they no longer require the 6 months of supervised weight loss, having to do these consecutive visits, even, with a dietitian or your primary care, somebody. So now, it's basically left to the program's discretion what they want to do. And we are of the thoughts that if you don't have any time requirement from your insurance company, I'm not going to put one on you unnecessarily. So if you're ready and you've made up your mind and you've done your research and you're educated and you're really prepared for this, let's go. If you're ready, I'm ready. How do you feel about that, having to have done the 6 months?
Same way. Like the 6 months was almost like, I made the decision, right? I'm ready to do this.
Okay, good.
And it was just kind of like dragging on. And it was like, again, not anything bad about the care team. The care team was great.
Yeah.
But as the patient, I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and do this before I chicken out.
Right.
or if I kiss my face. And so, if it was one of those deals where I could submit something, to you on a Monday, and then you're like, hey, we can get you in next Thursday. As a patient, yes, I would much rather go on that route than have to go the 6 months.
Okay, good. Because I know that you, again, were tremendously outlierly, I guess, successful in losing over 50 pounds. That is not normal. We don't expect that from our patients. We do hope that they are absorbing the information and starting to try to make some changes and maybe getting rid of the sodas or whatever your kryptonite is. It's just really starting to think of it. The mindset piece is so integral to this. But if you don't lose weight, that's not a deal breaker for anybody, and that's okay. But you crush that,
Right?
You crush that part.
Yeah, but it was like I said, it was the mindset piece, right? So you have to adapt, and it's like, okay, what are my triggers? Let's get the kryptonite, after you said. But then it was just like, please, like, can we just speed this up?
Okay, good.
We just did this.
Yeah, good.
I don't need.
Was there ever a point that you felt like you may stop it during that 6 months?
No, I mean, yeah, it was like, I wish the 6 month thing.
Just that it was over, but not that you were like, all right, I thought about it too much and now I'm going to back out. You were in it.
Super obsessive, like learning every second.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling, but that's what I feel like happens to some people is they get to month 3, month 4, and they're like, I'm sick of this. I'm tired of it. I've thought about it, and now I've read too many stories. I watched too many things on TikTok or whatever, and or I've heard a story, or they miss a month because they miss an appointment, and so now it's just like a whole thing, and it's like, I'm just done. And it's you made that 2 a.m. decision, and
Trust your gut.
yeah.
Really, like you started in September, then what happens November, December, right? Now, like you've derailed.
Yeah.
Right. So now you feel bad about it.
Insurance restarts and your deductible resets and just all that stuff too. It's like, oh.
I mean, usually I would say probably for most of your patients, obesity is a lifelong battle. Like once you finally get the courage to go through and kind of say, yes, I want to do this.
Yeah.
You're done. You've thought about this long enough. You're ready to do it.
Yeah. You got it. You're locked in.
No doubt about it. We always say, I'm obsessed with this thought. We even did a whole podcast on this. When you're standing on the edge, you're on the edge, you never really feel comfortable to jump. But if you're running to jump and you're just like, I'm tired of looking at it, like analysis paralysis, like, let's go. How was the day of surgery when it finally came? Or do you remember your emotions?
It was just a relief.
Oh, good.
To be finally there and like, okay, checked all the boxes, did all the things, right? Like finally, after waiting 6 months, we're going to be able to get this thing done. I can begin to move into the next chapter. And so it was not anxious about it. I was just glad to finally had been there. And I can tell you, I would feel the same way if it would have been 2 weeks versus 6 months, right? To finally be at that point, because it's like, okay, it's real. Like I'm actually going to do this. I don't know what's 6 months from now or a year from now or 6 years from now going to look like, but we're going to figure this out.
Oh, I love it so good. So my biggest question, we talked a little bit about non-scale victories. What would you say in this last 5 years, what has been your favorite NSV?
And I think I keep kind of going back to the surge in confidence, right? Like it allows you to be your true self. Right. Once you're not kind of, held back by your own limitations and the kind of the position you've put yourself in, it just allows you to really be who you truly are. Right. And I think that, you get so much empowerment from that. Just everything improves, just your general well-being, your general happiness, just life in general improves. When you are no longer like, so concerned about when's the next time you're going to eat, or what are people thinking about me when I'm eating, or, I can't go out to a restaurant and eat by myself because I'm going to get judged, right? You begin to kind of remove all these obstacles from your life, right? All these dark clouds, and the sun really shines through, right? And so I think it's, as far as the non-scope victories go, they're like I said, it's been a ton, right? Pretty much unquantifiable. But the biggest thing that I've taken away from that was it realistically was a turning point in my life, that the chapters post-surgical are vastly different, right? And so much better than they were, pre-surgical.
So what a long time. I wasn't even making any sounds. I was like holding my dry hand for you. Because I was like, I need it. Yeah. It was so good. Yes. I will tell you what, Robert, like, it has been such an honor to meet you and know you. And I'm so glad our paths have crossed. This is just the beginning. I got to meet you. I mean, I just met him and he's already willing to come here and sit on the pink chairs at Old Alliance and to get like kind of vulnerable and like to talk about your feelings and like where you were and where you are and like, oh my gosh, you're at the infancy of your business and I can't even, you're going to take over. So
yeah, honestly, I hope that, my goal in doing this, honestly, is that there's one person sitting out there who's on the fence, who, isn't sure, who didn't have that person who was able to pour into them like I had at that conference, who hears this and it's like, okay,
Here we go.
I'm going to send an email. I'm going to actually do this and look into it, because I would, like I said, I will tell anybody out there listening, you will not regret it if you go down this road, right? You will not regret the results. You will not regret, anything that will come of this, right? Again, everybody's journey is different, but their life on the other side of significant weight loss is so much better than being held captive by all the weight that you're carrying. So, I know this was like a last minute thing that, it kind of happened, and I'm so grateful that it worked out this way. But I would not hesitate, telling the story, any opportunity that I get.
oh, what a story. So with that being said, we hope that if you're listening, you stumble upon our website, bodybybariatrics.com, or text us 407-543-0971. And you have been in healthcare for many years, like you said, and I would love to know, just to put it out there, what would you tell people if they were to have surgery here at the Surgical Institute of Central Florida?
If I had to have it all done, I'd hop on your table tomorrow. I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful facility, and I have worked in hundreds of surgery centers across the country. It is an absolute beautiful facility, but the staff here is so nice. Right from the minute that we walked in the door, you're just interacting with you all. It's a great team. You can tell when people care, right? Versus like, I'm just a number, I'm just a patient, right? I'm in the system. I know, like, once you're, within this family, like, you really are part of the family here. And you have got a world-class setup here. You're a world-class surgeon. So if, it's one of those deals where I needed, you'd be my dietitian, you'd be my surgeon, like, yeah, done deal. So I can tell you from working with thousands of surgeons and being in hundreds of facilities, like, you have a top-notch team and organization here.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we do not cut corners. You are behind the scenes. You listen up the veil. You put things away. You have the supplies. You're helping us get organized. For that, we are so grateful. But thank you for those kind words. And we hope that if you're listening, you do come and you just check it out. Hopefully you have your surgery here, or you'll just visit us and you'll get, some sort of piece of this building and all the love that we poured into it, and even perfect strangers coming in here liking it too. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. We appreciate all the work that you have done here, but also for joining us on the podcast today. This was great. Like you said, it's kind of like, just do it.
Yep.
So he's like, I'll do the podcast. We're like, absolutely, let's do it.
That's confidence that would not have been present.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. And of course, if you want to find us, you can get us on Instagram at the Weight Loss Collab, at Dr. Dovec, at hannahschuyler.rd, at Body by Bariatrics. We're all over. So, like she said, bodybybariatrics.com. If you are listening at 2:00 in the morning and you want to go ahead and get started, absolutely. It can be any time of day. We'll take it. But get started and enjoy your post-operative just confidence and success and path forward.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. See you later. Bye, guys. Bye.